what I'm thinking. Let's see. These things are terrible for you.
No shit.
Wow, 13% of your saturated fat for the day.
Oh, that's not bad.
Right, no, I suppose not. Holy cow, this is a really strong bag.
Get.
Or you're just really weak.
I can't open it. Hold on. Just wait. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna... Oh!
Oh, it's gonna smell like shrimp. I'm happy I can't
I wish there was video.
Oh my god, all the air came out of that bag and
I
it
heard
just
it.
wafted right into my face. Oh, that was bad.
I'm glad.
That was bad.
Ew, dude. Let me get a whiff of
Oh,
these.
smell it. Smell it. Smell it.
Oh, I really almost threw up right there.
Good. Smell it again.
No.
Smell it again.
Shut up. That smells terrible.
All right.
Oh my god, it smells like brine shrimp. Well,
Well, you don't want anything.
Dude.
This is Oishi prawn crackers.
oh god.
This prawn. It's a prawn. There's even a really cute looking
No
shrimp
wonder
on
why it
there.
smells like shit. It's those aliens from District 9.
It's the Cloverfield monsters. Oh, dude, this whole room smells like asshole.
It smells like your mom's vagina.
Sorry, mother. Welcome, everybody!
Welcome back.
Welcome back to the Power Trip Gaming Powercast.
Wow, it's been a while.
I guess.
Has it?
Actually, yeah, I think it has been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah, we did that kind of random episode last time, and that was quite a bit ago. It just took me a while to put it out because I've been lazy.
That's okay. That's okay. But we are back, Paul and Andy, with special guest Kevin, who never left.
Never.
And we are talking about
Everything.
stuff.
Well, to start with, Paul was eating shrimp chips.
Prawn.
Prawn chips. I'm sorry.
Prawn crackers. Thank you.
Ugh. So they're not even chips.
Oishi branded prawn crackers.
Disgusting.
Yes, they are flavor-tastic.
Paul, yes.
This room stinks now.
This room smells
Oh,
awful.
it's great.
And he has so many different snacks.
Let me see here.
What else we got in there?
Oh, God.
Tigri ski.
I suppose we should
something.
enlighten them to where all this came from. This is all the stuff he's like looking at and trying right now.
Come from Snack Crate.
It's an overflow from Snack Crate that Andrew
It
gets.
looks
It's
like it
just awful.
is
Yeah.
Russian.
Things I refuse to eat. Like anything seafood.
It's
So,
Russian, and it looks like it is balls, like almost like cheese balls, but they are flavored
Tingy cheese.
with like fruit.
Ew, what? Fruit flavored cheese balls?
Yeah. No, they're not cheesy.
They're basically giant.
So fruit flavored balls. They're just
Yeah.
fruit balls.
Fruit balls.
They're giant fucking.
They're giant like Trix Puffs.
Yeah, there we go.
Basically.
Or Fruit Loops.
Only they have the consistency of a rice cake.
Yeah.
They're not crunchy. They're
That I'll actually try. Give me one of these hot dogs.
enjoy them.
Oh god, it tastes like a fucking styrofoam peanut.
It's pretty like
It's
styrofoam.
58% corn grits.
Oh, corn grits. Okay.
It's weird. Like it flattens.
It's weird.
Yeah, try one, Kevin.
Well, I will in just a second. Poland.
Oh, it's Poland. Okay.
Yeah, like
Risky.
yeah, really odd. Really odd.
It's a very cute tiger on the bag though. He looks very happy.
The texture's very strange.
He's wearing a belt.
It's like old rice cakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Old rice cakes. As if fresh ones are any good.
Well, I was gonna say all old rice cakes are old, so
Yeah.
I like the rice cakes.
they're good for coasters, not
can
for
be.
consumption.
But anyway, what's going on with you guys? Anything new? Anything new? Anything exciting? How are you guys doing?
Alive.
I'm over bronchitis, so I'm ready to go.
Nice.
Yes, nailed it.
My head is actually healed, finally. So me and my nephew thought that it would be a good idea to fight with sticks and pretend that they were lightsabers. Very big sticks.
I can't imagine where you got that idea from.
Well, I was a little drunk, so that probably didn't help matters much.
We didn't do it for years with PVC.
Boy, is that the bloody wee Jedi?
Who you calling weed, jackass?
Fucking airsoft fatty, man. Oh my god. Did you recreate it shot for shot, including when you fell over?
No, I did not.
Oh, damn it.
I did say it's a war of attrition a couple times, though.
That's awesome. Baba D Flats.
I did not say Baba D Flats. I didn't think to say that. I should have said that.
Damn it. Somebody squandered opportunity.
I know. So, but we decided to see how hard we would have to swing the sticks in order to break them. And so we swung at... Oh, jeez.
Fucking hell.
Whoops.
Clean up on aisle 1.
Oh, fruit balls all over my carpet.
Start stuffing them.
Yeah, I'll eat them. I'll eat them. Don't
Of course you will. Put them back in the bag.
worry. No, they're...
There's hair and stuff.
Yeah. No.
Well, that's the...
I'll clean them up.
What do they call that?
Just calm down. I'm telling a story here.
All right, I'm
calling
sorry.
a story.
First of all, what kind of sticks are these? Like broom handles?
No,
Or
sticks
like
that we
sticks
found
from the tree?
Sticks from a tree that we found in the a forest. They were just
So
laying
a
on the
branch.
ground. Yeah, like a branch.
Okay.
And so we swung super hard, and the piece of mine broke off and went into my head. And it was one of those where I was like, okay, I know it hurt,
Ow.
but I was like, it didn't bother me too much. And then
How drunk were you? That's why.
couple 3-4 drinks.
A couple,
Wait,
three.
3? Wow, man, you guys are lightweights.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
But then I put my hand up to my head, and I took my hand away, and I'm like, ah, crap, there's blood. And so I was actually very calm because I'm like, yeah, I know that the head is gonna bleed a lot more than anything else. So I just tried, and my
Good. I hope this isn't Chris's. Oh God,
Andy.
sorry.
Go see if you can find any other clues. I'll be examining this. No, I was just more so concerned because my my other niece and nephew were actually watching it, and I didn't want them to see all the blood. So I was just like, "Okay, guys, why don't you go over there? Like, go play over there." And I tried to race to the bathroom just because there was so much blood.
Yeah.
But yeah, now it has healed. On I think it was Thursday, the scab fell off in the shower.
Neat.
Yeah, no, it was great. It actually looked like a giant bug. It was disgusting because there was like it was like a black scab, but then there was like
Hair stuck
pieces
to
of
it.
hair stuck to it, and it literally looked like a spider. I'm like,
Neat.
I'm gonna throw this away. So, but I'm all better now.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Kevin, how about you? Anything new and fascinating? I know Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 came out for the Switch this week. How was that journey?
Well, we'll just say I hate GameStop or UPS because I pre-ordered the game on the website for GameStop. Or GameStop.
Game slop.
Yeah.
That's what I call them.
Slop.
And so I paid for day 1 shipping, so I'm like, all right, cool. I'll have it like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, usually the day of release. I'm like, cool. I'll start playing it as soon as it gets here. I check my email that morning to try to find out the delivery time because they usually say. And I get to a thing that says something. It's like it won't be here till the 22nd. Underneath it says something about exemption, and then I go into the destination scans and see why. They sent my copy to fucking New Jersey.
Sick.
When have you
Snooki's been playing your game.
When have you lived in New Jersey?
It didn't. So according to them, they sorted it wrong, so it got put into the wrong bin, and it was sent out to New Jersey. But I don't know what dumb fucking illiterate bastard can't tell the difference between WI and NJ and said, these are the same, and put them into the same bin.
Close enough. Geographically speaking, it's close enough.
I mean, one's known for cows, the other's known for being a shithole, so I mean...
That's a good point. Yeah.
Jersey Shore, baby. Coming back.
So that's been my excitement.
Wow.
So I just
Mike,
decided, I said, fuck it, I'll call corporate, get a refund on like the copy I ordered, and I just went and picked up a copy.
There you go. And how is it?
It's pretty fun so far.
Yeah?
I'm not too far into it, but it's been good.
That's good. Maybe we'll have to have you and Paul play it on the channel sometime soon. I'm not huge into that, but I'll watch it.
I love the Marvel Ultimate Alliance series.
Yeah.
I didn't get so much into X-Men Legends 1, but I loved X-Men Legends 2. And then Marvel Ultimate Alliance was actually the first one of that series that I actually played. And I just loved it. And 2 was just fantastic.
See, I preferred X-Men Legends 1 and 2 over Ultimate Alliance.
So what was the difference between the two?
To be honest, I think Ultimate Alliance is the better encapsulating thing, but X-Men Legends game felt more focused.
Yes, and that's exactly why I liked Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 versus 1 more, because I loved the idea of the Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and it really brought everything from the Marvel
Even characters you wouldn't think of.
Yeah,
like
it brought them all.
Carnage
Yeah, it brought them
wow.
all together. But the story was so. There was no real story. It seemed like it was just so disjointed, and nothing really seemed to flow that well. And then they actually had, for Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, they actually had like a story that they were going off of.
Well, 2 was based off of Civil War, but it was a very bastardized version of it.
It was Civil War. The first half of the game was Civil War, and then it turned to Secret War.
Yeah, but this one's basically their own. It's what is it, Koei and Team Ninja. It's their own version of the Infinity Story.
Oh, okay.
It's a completely original story.
Because this one is called the Black Order, right? Or something like
Yeah.
about the Black Order.
Yeah.
So it's about.
It's just they're taking basically the concepts they liked from different different stories, and they wrote their own story. And they got the full go ahead from Marvel, and obviously it's very MCU design focused because that's Disney's
big
thing. So right now, so that's
who made these games? X-Men Legends.
X-Men Legends 1 and 2 was Ravensoft.
I don't know. I think X-Men Legends 2 was actually Activision.
Really?
I think they were the publisher.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Because they were the publishers of both Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2. But Activision's big enough to do their own stuff, though, aren't they?
I think. Okay, Ravensoft had an exclusive deal with Activision, so that might be.
Oh.
They did the Legends ones, right? Or
Yeah,
is this
he's
I'm
looking.
double checking it. Oh, that's more fun too because Ravensoft was from Madison.
Oh, are they really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Madison, Wisconsin. How cool.
Hey!
Hey!
All right, let's see. Yeah, they did 1 and 2.
That's cool.
So, but yeah, and there was another aspect I kind of liked a little bit more of X-Men Legends 1 and 2 was more of the environment was destructible. Like there in X-Men Legends, you could go find a door that was locked, and then you could take characters and go to the side wall and just break through the walls to get to the stuff inside.
Oh, that's cool.
So the entire environments, you could basically reduce them down to a skeletal structure and then go on. And granted, there wasn't a whole hell of a lot for breaking stuff, but it was still kind of fun. It was a nice touch.
I remember Ultimate Alliance 2 where you could pick up anything and throw it at guys. You could use them as weapons, and all the environments were totally destructible.
I mean, the team attacks and stuff from Ultimate Alliance were cool, but yeah, like I said, X-Men Legends 1 and 2 just felt like the more focused story type thing.
Yes.
And then X-Men Legends 2 was Apocalypse, so that's one of my favorite villains. So.
I like Apocalypse.
And I suppose that helped. They were only focusing on X-Men in those games, whereas Ultimate Alliance has been
the entire Marvel universe,
the entire universe and all the different teams. And,
Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's neat.
Well, you're
Good thing,
lost.
yeah, good thing.
Extremely.
Good thing you've never played them, nor do
To
you
be
like
honest,
Marvel comics.
you wouldn't. I think you would play through X-Men Legends 2 at least because it plays feels almost like playing a gauntlet game.
Okay, I'm about to say I do actually have the Legends games. I think for the GameCube.
I think.
They made them for the GameCube, the Xbox, and the PS2.
Yeah.
I think I tried it once and I didn't get super into it.
That was the other thing that I didn't like about Ultimate Alliance 2, I think it was. Every system...
Jesus fucking
You dropped the
Christ.
ball over there.
Fucking
Every
ball dropper over
system
here.
got their own exclusive characters.
Bonus characters, yeah.
So, there was... If you wanted this character, you had to buy it on this system, and then...
It was I think.
And then they screwed up the whole Juggernaut DLC type thing. And,
Oh, Paul, that's a low blow for you.
No,
I
it
mean,
actually.
if we're talking about the game, we might as well talk about the shortcomings.
It actually wasn't. It started off that way, and then it ended up working out in my favor.
Did it really?
Ultimately, yeah. So the thing with
ultimately,
the thing with the Juggernaut is that GameStop, when they were taking pre-orders for Ultimate Alliance 2, they would give you a redemption code for unlocking the Juggernaut.
Right.
Like,
it was
as a playable
Juggernaut and
character.
someone else, wasn't it?
No, it was just Juggernaut.
Oh.
There may have been like a skin or something like that for another character, but it was mainly just for Juggernaut.
Your favorite character.
Yeah, my favorite comic book character of all time. And I ended up getting like pre-ordering the game from Game Crazy of all places.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I did that, but anyways, I then ended up like a day or two beforehand. I actually ended up going to GameStop, and I was saying like, can I still pre-order it for like the code? Do you guys still have the code? And they didn't have any of the codes left, and so I went on to eBay to see if I could find like a code. And for some godforsaken reason, these codes were going for like $100 to $125 for the Juggernaut. Like,
God.
And I'm like, I am not paying this for something that I like that's going to be in game that I don't have any other control of other than when I play this game.
Right.
So then I found an auction for the Juggernaut cardboard cutout for Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and it was like $60, and I'm like, you know what? It's Juggernaut. It's Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2. It's tangible. I can look at it. I can do whatever the heck I want when I'm not playing the game. All right. I bought it. I ended up winning it for like 60 some odd bucks. And I was like, well, I don't get Juggernaut in the game, but guess what? I'll just stand this cardboard cutout right next to my TV while I'm playing, and guess what? Juggernaut's in the game.
Ridiculous.
And then it wasn't until maybe about 6 months to a year after the game. No, it had to have been closer after that the game was released. Maybe 6 months later, it was 4 months because it was around December time.
December time.
Well,
I know what you mean.
like winter season. So what ended up happening was that they put downloadable content on the PlayStation Network, and it involved like one of the deals was getting Juggernaut for $1.99, and then getting some of like they had some side quests and DLC stories that were, I think, like it was a set of like 2 or 3 different events and a couple characters for $9.99. So at the time I bought, they only had 2 different ones, and so I bought both of those, and I bought Juggernaut for $1.99. And literally within 3-4 months, for some reason, they pulled all of it from the PlayStation Network. And I'm wondering if it had something to do with Activision lost the rights to the.
I was just looking it up. Activision claimed it was a limited time offer only, so they're the ones that pulled the plug on it.
Oh, seriously?
A lot of them do that kind of shit.
Interesting. Well, either way, I got the Juggernaut's cardboard cutout for less than half of what the code was going for, and then when I did end up getting the code, I got it for $1.99. So
hey.
I won. I won in that scenario.
Nice job, man. Fuck. Oh, that's right, because I remember you had a picture of him dressed up as Santa Claus.
Yep.
Jugger Claus.
Yeah. Jugger Claus.
Ridiculous. Well, speaking of Activision, I know we had a little confusion there. Publishers, developers. I think that's what the focus of this episode will be. Publishers, developers, overrated, underrated, that kind of bullshit. Because on our channel, as we're playing these games for the NES, we're coming across a lot of games that are highly overrated for what people seem to like tout these games at. That wasn't a very good sentence.
Yeah, that really wasn't.
Games that are just overrated, and the more we're like delving into this collection, like we're realizing a lot of these developers just were not as good as maybe we thought growing up. Like Data East, for example. Double Dragon, Karnov, like all those games. Like I think we played Double Dragon 1, and like we were talking about, and it's really not a very good game.
Didn't they do RoboCop as well?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, actually, it was RoboCop, I think, where we started to talk about it a little bit, and
Joe and Mac, they did
I think
too.
Data East is the one that basically got all the movie licenses, right? A lot of them.
No,
that was
Ocean,
like
Ocean did.
Ocean, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think Acclaim had a couple here and there.
And Acclaim, LJN did a lot of the movie licenses.
No, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, like these companies that were really quote unquote powerhouses on the NES, that really their games now aren't that great. Because I know you like Double Dragon, and I know a lot of people like Double Dragon, but
I don't know if I would say that I like it.
you don't like it.
No,
It's no Lethal Weapon.
It's no. The game is okay, but it's got a lot of flaws. And Double Dragon 2 was a little bit better, but at the same time, that game had a lot of flaws. And Double Dragon 3, everybody knows that Double Dragon 3 is probably one of the worst games that was ever made for the Nintendo system.
Oh, it's hard as hell.
But no, it's another thing is like companies like Atlas are a beloved company, and people think that they can do no wrong. They've done Demon Souls, and they did Dark Souls, and they've done all these wonderful games, and it's this AAA developer that is just one of the best in the business. And people often talk about the Karate Kid being the worst game ever made for the Nintendo. Well, guess what? You have Atlas to thank for that. And
Bethesda.
Yeah,
It's the
and
same
people,
way.
and Bethesda with the whole Skyrim and Elder Scrolls, and everybody thinks that Bethesda is this great. Although, I don't know, with Fallout 76 maybe changing that way, but again, they think, oh, they can't do any wrong, but yet Terminator, which was an absolutely terrible game,
It was a total shit show.
was Bethesda. So it's like all these companies that people are like, oh yeah, LJN's the worst. It's like, no, they're not. They really aren't. They didn't develop anything. They just published. Bethesda was the maker, and Atlas were developers. They were the ones who actually developed the games.
Yeah,
They just weren't big enough to publish at that time.
and back then there was no internet to really be able to find out who developed these games. So it's like we really had no idea until, years later. Now as adults, we can say like, oh yeah, Friday the 13th. That was Atlas.
Yeah,
Now, like,
I don't even think on the title screen it doesn't say anything about Atlas.
Atlas is nowhere in it.
Some of the games you can read the copyright print that's underneath the title,
And I think
you can see some of the developers there, but not every game did that. And I wonder if it's especially back then, it was more of the developers. You're no one, but the publisher is the face.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter how good or bad your team was. The game it's like they were like, this is my game. I don't care about the work you did.
Yeah.
My name's going on here.
Yeah.
And
So I wonder if that's why a lot of the games, like, you don't see that sort of stuff on the title screen.
It could be. Yeah.
Which is why, like, LJN is the most infamous. Anytime anybody sees that LJN rainbow, they know they're in for a bad fucking time. And they always blame LJN for it. Which, at some point, or to some degree, I would kind of agree with, because they had their own, I would assume, quality assurance people to look at the game and be like, yep, this is it! Like,
No,
Well,
I
I'd
mean,
say
they should have.
You also
but-
got to remember, game testing wasn't to the same standards that it is now back then.
wait a minute, Bethesda tests games?
Yeah, that's why you spend $60 on it.
That is so funny.
Bethesda, for anyone who doesn't know, Bethesda is like the most
But then,
glitchy fucking, they don't playtest shit.
but then again, the
Games.
scale of their games, you can't really account for everything a player is going to do.
No.
So I do give them a little bit of leeway for stuff like that. Like, who in their right mind picks up a pot and walks backwards into a wall to skip parts of a game?
The same people who in Mario Brothers figure to throw a turtle to make a coin happen,
Or-
as you get the coin
What was
glitches
it,
you to the end of the
was
game.
it in Oblivion where you can make stairs out of paintbrushes?
Yeah.
Where you just
Drop them and you can stand on items.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So
Yeah.
you could make stairs to get all over walls and stuff like that by dropping paintbrushes. I mean,
Yeah.
who in their right mind actually thinks to do stuff like that? So, like, their testers obviously don't think that way. So, because, like, that takes a very special mindset to think of stuff like that.
Speedrunners.
Glitch runners and-
Speedrunners are one of the most, like, that's a mindset in and of itself, is how can I shave off as much time as possible? So it's like, I think they look for those tiny little exploits in how can I shave off that fraction of a second? Well, why don't I just build a fucking wall through these things that I can drop on the floor and stand on? Like, that's the kind of shit that you figure their playtesters would be. But you're right. And also, in this day and age, I suppose Bethesda can patch stuff.
Yeah.
Back in the day, There was no such thing. Once the cart came out, that was it. There are no updates to this game anymore.
Nope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, because I mean, what's the one game where you literally beating the final boss is impossible? It's an RPG.
Arts and Alico.
There we go.
For the PS2, there was a glitch in one of the moves. As soon as he does it, the game crashes. Like, it literally just brings you to... The game is literally impossible to beat without, like, some form of a patch or
So basically,
some sort of ROM.
or without, like, basically glitching your levels so to be stronger than him.
Well, you'd have to beat him before he uses the move, which it's random. You know, you never know when he's going to use it. So it's one of those things, how you can't fix that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Today's day and age, if that were a PS3, 4 title, sure, they could just do an update.
Release a patch, yeah.
Yeah. But that also brings into account the idea of, well, now these developers can bring out slipshod games and just be like, oh, we'll fix it later. You know what I mean? To meet our deadlines,
Well,
here's a sloppy game. Look at East 8, where their localization or whatever was just horrible. That they actually went back and redid the entire,
to be
translation and all that shit.
To me, I played through most of the game with the original translation.
I did too. I didn't know.
I didn't notice, but then again, I also... like early 90s and stuff like that when, you know, it wasn't easy to get anime, or even like, you know, really early 90s.
Yeah.
I watched shoddy VHS fan-subbed anime that didn't have the greatest translation.
Right.
Or like, God, who was the company that did the original, like, translations for, like, Dragon Ball Z and stuff? Like, it was just atrocious, but that's just, you kind of get used to that sort of thing, so you don't notice it.
Right.
Unless if you're it's a very particular type of person. That sort of shit, you can just be like, oh, it's a little quirk of what they're doing.
Right.
Well, and what they've done now is, like, I mean, and this was granted years ago, but I think it was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 when it came out. So it's like people bought the physical disc and they put it in their system, and before they could play it, there was something that needed to be downloaded in order to play it. And the size of the file was like 50 some odd gigs. And you're like, wait a minute.
Back in the day,
it's like, wait a minute, that's not a simple patch. That's like installing the rest of the game like on your system. Like,
yeah.
Because they didn't have time to finish it. They got out a shoddy product. They knew that they were under the gun, and so they said, all right, we're just going to release this game, and we're going to put this stuff on there, but then it's going to be a patch so that the rest of the game goes onto the system, which then leads to issues where once the networks are down and they remove those servers, guess what? Now you have a game that can't even be played anymore.
Yeah, especially if you buy it later.
Yeah, exactly.
But then again, too, we live in an age where...
Why would you buy that game later anyways?
Yeah.
I mean, why are we still buying NES games 30 years later?
That is true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's where it gets into a weird thing, because there are certain games that will stand the test of being able to play. There are certain games from, like, every generation of console that people will always go back and look at and play.
Final
and then there are
Fantasy.
other games, usually sports titles. Who the fuck is ever going to go back and touch them?
No.
Especially niche sport titles like a skating game.
Yeah, and this is kind of a tangent, but like sports games, I don't understand because they release a new one every year, right? Which effectively makes the previous year obsolete. It's one of the how do I want to phrase this?
It's the Call of Duty syndrome.
Kind of in a weird way. It's like it's one of the best, almost like not scam. Scam's not the right word. It's almost like Magic cards, like Magic the Gathering. How the more like every time they release a new set, it makes some previous sets.
They're no longer. Yeah.
They're no longer viable to use in like tournament settings and stuff like that. So it forces you to keep buying new things, you know. Whereas, I mean, realistically, you could buy a game, like a sports game with this specific engine or whatever, and then they could just release updates to update rosters.
EA tried that, I think, with one of the basketball games, and it just was one of those things where I think they were losing money or something like that. It just became because of licensing fees and all that stuff that they have to pay. It's not a financially responsible way to go about it.
I suppose that makes sense. I don't know. Sports games to me are a mystery because who's gonna go out there and look for FIFA 2006? You know what I mean? I don't know if that's an actual thing, but
It probably is.
but I mean, is
Well, it's probably
anyone really
PES, but yeah.
other than some of like the iconic sports games like Tecmo Bowl, Super Tecmo Bowl? What was that one on the Genesis? That NHL '95 or whatever.
Mutant League, the weird ones
Mutant
like
League
that.
hockey, yeah.
What is it? NFL Blitz? I know was a super big NBA Jam, but those aren't.
They're the arcade
It's
ones.
more of an arcade one. I suppose we're talking more
Those are
of
niche,
like
niche sports games, not
not like
actual.
Madden.
Yeah.
Not the simulator ones.
Yeah, not like a
the
Madden
arcade ones
something.
will always have a following, I think, but like the simulation ones, you basically have to be a sport fan to be into those ones.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like that's one genre I've never been into, but
No,
I don't like sports to begin with. But
The only sports games I've ever gotten into, obviously, like the Tecmo Bowl games on the Nintendo. Ken Griffey Jr. Presents Major League Baseball was a pretty fun one on the Super Nintendo, and then maybe some of the NBA Live games for the Super Nintendo. But once it hit the PlayStation era, I really did not do sports games.
no, once it went disc, like
Yeah.
when they started releasing like. Well, no, I suppose Madden came out even on like Genesis and stuff.
No, it did. Madden
Yeah.
started in '93, I think, with in the Genesis era, and they were releasing them once a year. But I don't know. There was something about it, and it really kind of came to a head when I saw what was it, MLB 2003 or something like that on the Xbox. Where I saw somebody playing it, and it's like all these different buttons that you have to push,
Oh,
and you
that's
have
ridiculous.
to aim your pitch, and you have to decide like, okay, is it going to be fast or is it going to be slow, and it's got to be in a certain area in the batter's box, and where are you going to throw it to? And it's like all these different buttons. And I'm like, what happened to just like
Up and X.
holding up and the throw button, and you'll throw it to second base.
It's a fastball.
Yeah, exactly. Or
Yeah.
up and X is a fastball. Down and X is a splitter, or like a sinker. Like I like it being simple.
It got so convoluted.
It got so convoluted that I'm just like, I can't.
But
do
again,
this
the people that
anymore.
those are geared to, that's the sort of stuff they want. They
Yeah.
want the control of being able to do the actual
Oh, yeah.
proper
Oh, sure.
slider and
Oh,
stuff
sure.
like that.
Yep.
Like we don't get it, but the people that buy those games, if they're
They know
not
that
that
stuff.
way,
Yeah.
they're going to be like, well, this is just boring. Why would I play this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I suppose that makes sense. I suppose it's like the games we play, you know. But I digress. Anyway,
Yeah.
publishers, developers. Let's talk about LJN since they're the most infamous. So I know Paul is a staunch defender of LJN.
So I am, but it's also because of the fact that I get very upset because it was the angry video game nerd who really was like, he was the first one that kind of brought it to the attention that every LJN game is crap. And then he started making it like, oh, once you see that rainbow, that means that it's going to be a bad game. And then LJN started being associated with, well, LJN made all these terrible, terrible games. They didn't make a single game. They did not have any developers on their team. It was literally a toy company that said, video games are making a lot of money. We want to see that money too. We're going to buy licenses from movies, and we'll make our own games, and we'll sell the crap out of them because that seems to be the big thing.
Well, they won't make their own. They'll contract out to have someone else
So
make it.
then what they would do is they would subcontract out a developer to create a game, and then they would slap their logo and their private labeling on the game, and then they put it out there. And then Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Perfect example. Terrible, terrible game. LJN, their rainbow is right in the upper left-hand corner.
Oh, sure as shit.
Sure as shit. It's right in the upper left-hand corner. You don't see any whoever the developer is. Maybe on the back of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I
but,
was actually going to look and see if I can.
but yeah, you may see it on the back. But
It's not front and center.
anything that anybody is going to see is they're going to see Who
yeah,
Framed
there
Roger
is, yeah.
Rabbit, LJN.
Actually, there is. Because there's a copyright and trademark for Walt Disney Company and Amblin Entertainment.
Those are movie things.
That's the
though.
movie.
those aren't.
Yeah, those aren't the
Amblin
developers.
is movie as well?
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
Amblin
That's Steven Spielberg's company.
Oh, okay.
Amblin
Yeah, those aren't
Entertainment.
developers.
Yeah, no, those are not developers.
Those are the only other LJN toys, Walt
Which
Disney. Yep.
they had
LJN
and,
toys.
and then Nintendo. That's it.
That's
Yeah.
it. No,
There's no other trademarks and stuff on the back of this, so they don't.
and
even
I can tell you right now that was not developed by LJN because they did not develop a single game.
No. But yeah, I agree. I remember watching the Angry Video Game Nerd thing on it, and I could see where that bias comes from.
Yeah.
But then again, he's good at doing a lot of that kind of stigma.
Well, but you got...
He is, but...
See, in his case, like, for him, I understand it. He is a character. So like, what he's doing is satire, and most people took it as literal.
I understand that what he's doing is satire.
No, but I'm just saying, like, people... For some reason,
and
took
they'll
it to
take
heart,
it literal.
and yeah, that's...
And they'll take it literal, but then, you know what? What's to stop him from just doing an episode saying, hey, LJN shouldn't get all this hate because they didn't develop their games. They didn't make their games.
Well,
they just
yeah.
literally licensed them. What are you laughing about?
Because it's entertainment, I suppose they...
Rare developed it.
Really?
That's right.
Yeah.
Because Rare did literally, I think Rare was one of the first third-party developers for the Nintendo Entertainment System in the United States, and they had their hands in everything.
Yeah.
All the game tech stuff, that was done by Rare.
Why does it say Capcom?
Why does what say Capcom?
It says Rare and one of... Oh, never mind. That was something else.
No.
Yeah. Okay, so Rare.
It was Rare, okay.
Which... I don't like Rare to begin with that much.
Rare has done some good stuff, but
yeah.
they also they've struck out several times.
They gave
as
you
well.
your favorite thing ever.
Yes, Taboos.
Streets 112.
Oh, that was, yeah.
GoldenEye.
It was GoldenEye 007, yeah.
I'm a fucking legend.
I am
Sorry, I
a
couldn't help
legend.
myself.
Yeah. But, like you said, they contracted out everything, and it's... I almost... You know, greatness from small beginnings, like Atlas, Bethesda, and, well, Ocean and them aren't really around too much anymore, I don't think. But...
Yeah, for the most part, they're not, but... And I think LJN, obviously, I think they went out of business in the 90s. They were actually purchased by Acclaim Entertainment. And
son of a bitch.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that Acclaim is, like, they were out of business in the mid to late 2000s. I'm pretty sure.
Let's talk about Acclaim, shall we? I despise Acclaim games.
Do you really?
They're terrible.
What games in particular really kind of make your bring that to a head?
I don't remember. I think I've blocked it out of my memory. But I remember we played a specific game that was just cabbage, and it was Acclaim. Kind of like your disdain for Radical Entertainment.
Yeah.
They're terrible.
Was it Excalibur 2049?
I don't think so.
Oh.
It was something we played on the NES that I feel like we talked about, but damn it, I'd have to look up what Acclaim's actually done lately. But I know you hate Radical.
It's because Radical...
Was it Rocky and Bullwinkle?
Yeah.
Didn't they do?
Yeah, they did. Radical, and that's another reason why I am such a staunch defender of LJN games, is because all of this hate that they take, and it takes away from the game companies that actually did just absolute shit.
Yeah.
Like Radical Entertainment. Actually, here, let's
Oh my god.
where
Total
is
Recall.
That's what it was. No, it wasn't Total Recall.
No, but so Radical Entertainment did The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends for the Nintendo. It was absolutely god awful terrible. They did the Terminator, which actually was Radical and Bethesda together. So that's like it was a 1-2 punch there.
Holy shit, dude. Acclaim did a lot of fucking games.
Yeah,
Mario-
I was just looking at that.
Mario is missing for the Nintendo. Did you ever play that?
That is hell.
Isn't it?
That is hell
And that's
in
Radical.
high water.
And that is Radical Entertainment as well.
Ugh.
Wayne's World for the Nintendo.
Wait a minute, Acclaim might have just been a publisher.
Yep.
Yeah, because Acclaim probably just did the same. They probably did the same stuff that LJN did.
Yeah,
they were
'cause-
literally just a publisher. They were not a developer.
I'm looking at a lot of the games that they did, and it's just games released by the publisher Acclaim. Tiger Heli, but that was Micronix.
Yeah,
3D World Runner, that was Square. Square.
that
excuse
was
me.
Square.
Wizards and Warriors was Rare.
Mm-hmm.
Pack-In Video. I don't remember that one. That's
remember that
Rambo.
They did Knight Rider too.
Yeah, Iron Sword, Wizards and Warriors 2 was also Rare. Cybernoid was Gremlin Graphics.
Interesting.
Quirk, which was Atlas, that was on the Game Boy. Yeah, I see they did Narc. But I mean, holy shit, dude, they had quite a fucking... they published a lot of shit.
They did. Oh yeah.
Holy crap.
But yeah, I mean, just on the Nintendo, and then Mario's Time Machine was also Radical Entertainment as well too. So I mean, they did not make a solid video game for the Nintendo, and they really didn't have a solid game for the Super Nintendo or anything else after that either. Simpsons Hit and Run they did in 2003, which was it for GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox, which they then got a cease and desist from. From what was it, Grand Theft Auto, because they copied Grand Theft Auto 3 to a T.
Wait, what game?
Simpsons Hit and Run.
Oh,
It was literally Grand Theft Auto, but with Simpsons characters.
but it was way more fun.
Pretty much.
It was more fun. I don't know if you played that one.
I think I've watched videos on it, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
It looks so bad.
The last two games that they ever did, Radical Entertainment, Prototype and Prototype 2.
Those games were fun.
Really?
I loved
Were
them.
they?
Yeah.
Those were actually good.
So
At least they went out on a good note.
Yeah, so I know Prototype 1 was actually a pretty well-received game.
Well,
Prototype 2 was not
the biggest reason it wasn't well received is because, like most fanboys, they wanted their character back when the game switched to another main character.
I liked this. The guy. in the
To be
second
honest, the guy in the second one had better motivations than Alex Mercer did in the first game.
kind of like Infamous. I liked
The kid
what was-
from First Son or whatever.
yeah, I liked him
Not
better than
Alex
the other
Cole
guy.
or whatever it was.
Yeah. Because I played First Light as well, and
There
I
we
liked
go.
her a
Yeah.
lot. But those games are, yeah.
Like I said, the prototype games were fun because they were just like the epitome of just being a badass going around.
Oh, you felt like a stud.
Yeah, because you were super powered. Near the end of the game, you were basically nigh unkillable, and
Yeah, those actually remind me of a lot of the what was it, like the Spider-Man games that I used to watch you play.
it's basically like Resident Evil meets like X-Men.
Yeah, pretty much actually.
Because it's all like bioweapons and stuff like that, and you become a mutant, and
It was pretty cool.
Oh, interesting.
they're fun. I have them on PS4 because I saw they went up down there. I was like, I'll buy those.
Well, is there anything else we can say about LJN? I mean, they don't deserve the hate that they get. But they still kind of do to a point because
The only thing
there
that they
should have
are
been.
some sort of quality control.
the only thing that they are guilty of is that they did not they were not as careful choosing their developers as they should have been. Especially when they had a bad track record like with Atlas and developing Karate Kid.
But see, actually, but at the same time, back then, there weren't exactly a whole lot of development teams you could go to that were very skilled.
No, there really wasn't.
So everyone was learning as they were going. Now, like towards the beginning of the life cycle of the console, but towards the end, when developers are more experienced, they had a little bit more of accountability there, especially when you get into Super Nintendo and stuff like that. Like that's when they really had accountability. Towards the beginning, no one knew what the hell they were doing. I mean, even just look at like Atari games; they didn't know what they were doing when developing them.
Yeah, but Atari also had a lot more other problems where they were not
But
checking
see, like,
any of their games.
Video games as a whole back then, just they didn't have this like standards in like unified standards for what makes a good experience because it was like Wild West back then. Like there was no one knowing what to do. Everyone was learning as you're going. You're finding your flaws as you're going, and
I suppose the biggest problem too back then.
not learning from your mistake.
Biggest problem back then too is a lot of the ones that were good developers were also their own publishers. So it's like you couldn't have LJN be like, "Hey, Konami
or Capcom,
come make this for us, and we'll take all the money."
It's like we'll pay you.
Yeah.
$500,000, and we know that we're gonna make like $50 million on this game, but we'll give you $1 million.
Yeah, and like you said back then, I suppose indie developer would be the right word. Like Atlas and Bethesda and them were essentially
kind of
indie developers.
Yeah.
They were small teams in basically someone's garage sometimes, probably.
And I suppose they didn't have like a library they could look at and be like, all right, are they any good? Well, they don't look great, so let's go with somebody. But it's, maybe you're right. It was a little bit more tricky. I
almost wonder how many of these like the early like game developers did a. So you had a publisher that was like, okay, we've got a concept for a game, and then they go and they contact multiple developers and be like, who's going to give us the best rate to make this game.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder how many of these developers back then would try to lowball kind of like construction companies do.
undercut. Yeah, undercut just to
So
try
I wonder
to get
how
the
often
gig.
that used to happen back then.
And maybe it did. Maybe it did too. So honestly, I mean,
there's enough blame to go around to all of
there
them.
might be
so.
there might be enough blame, but still, LJN does not deserve the reputation that they get nowadays in the video game industry. They were just a company that just wanted to make money, and they were trying to capitalize on the cash cow that was Nintendo back then.
Maybe
That's
that's
literally
why.
all it was.
Maybe the communications between certain departments wasn't exactly very strong too. I mean, look at half of the box art that literally does not match the game at all. Kid Nicky, Mega Man. I mean, well, any of the Mega Mans
Hell.
really up until a certain point. Like, how I remember reading a thing once where they said the guy who drew the Mega Man box art was literally told, "This is the name of the game." And, like, this is it. He didn't see the actual game. He didn't see any of, like, the material. They were just like, draw this. The game's called Mega Man. So he drew a dude with a fucking blue hat on. Like, so I wonder if communication back then, even between developers and publishers, was just like, all right, here you go. You know?
It could have been one of those things, it was a monthly phone call, and that'd have been about it.
Yeah, maybe. Because I can't believe any self-respecting person would look at Terminator and just be like, "Yep, this is our vision."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So who knows? Maybe there's something that people
Well,
don't really realize.
And then development cycles, I think they were a lot shorter back then, too.
For the most part, they actually
Like,
were.
games, like, we're used to games taking 5 years to come out. Back then,
Oh, no.
that was on. I don't think the games were given anywhere even near that long to be developed.
No. On average, they were given 6 to 8 months, but it was cut short too. If they wanted to get a specific game out before like a holiday or shopping season, like Thanksgiving or Christmas, then it could have been 4 months.
E.T.'s a great example of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually.
Where they were basically like, this needs to be out by this time.
By this time,
You've
so that
got,
we can sell it for
3
Christmas.
months to do it.
Yep.
And guess what? Get it done.
2 to 3 months.
Well, I don't remember how many.
They gave them like 6 weeks.
It was pretty
6
short.
weeks from inception of an idea to the final product.
I knew it was short, but I
6
couldn't remember how
fucking
short.
weeks.
So
And then produced an insane amount of copies.
And then produced 5 million copies. Where,
Holy
might I say, that over 1 million copies of that game were sold. However, over 1 million copies were returned.
oh,
But anyway, we'll talk about AAA developers. So nowadays, obviously, time has gone on, and a lot of these companies have established a dominance or a prominence of sorts in the industry. I mean, you got EA, you got Square Enix, you got Capcom, even Atlas, whose humble beginnings somehow flourished into this powerhouse in the RPG community as a AAA developer.
yeah.
So, who amongst the AAAs would you say is one of the ones that you like the most? I mean, I suppose it depends kind of on the type of game that you like.
To be honest, I as far as ambition goes, I would say it's either Bethesda or what is the other one? They're doing Outer Worlds at the moment, and I can't think of their fucking name, and I'm an idiot.
That's not a surprise.
All statements are true.
Paul, I hate you guys. I'm going home.
We'll go back to him.
No, Obsidian.
Oh,
They made
Oh,
because
yeah.
they did
Oh,
Fallout New
Obsidian.
Vegas.
Yeah.
yeah.
So like Bethesda and then Obsidian, for the style of games they do, I don't think really anyone can match them.
yeah.
And like, because they're very, very ambitious. Yeah, their games can tend to be, well, Bethesda's games are buggy as hell. Obsidian's are less so. But like, the ambition for what they do, I think, is really good. I mean, Obsidian even did KOTOR and stuff, I think.
I thought that was BioWare.
It was BioWare.
Or
Yeah.
was
the
it
Knights of the Old Republic games? Yeah, that
I
was
think so.
BioWare.
Obsidian had a hand in something else, and I can't remember what. And it's the one we play. But I think they're like two of the big ones.
So it's kind of a loaded statement that I'm saying because they really don't have anything to base their reputation on because their game hasn't come out yet. But honestly, looking at the track record of Kojima with the Metal Gear Solid games and the care and the level of detail that he puts into his games, I honestly think that Kojima Productions is going to be one of the best, like, he's trying to tell a story that he wants to tell, and doesn't care what other people think, or he's going to not cater to what.
No, go ahead. Finish your thoughts.
I hate you.
I know.
Have I said that before?
I know.
Oh, okay, good. Because I do.
Kojima Productions, yes.
So I honestly he's developing a game that he wants to make. He's telling the story that he wants to tell.
Yeah.
And he has a good sense of what gamers want because he's done great things with like the Metal Gear Solid franchise and everything that he's done and just making games more cinematic. I mean, he was one of the very first games that I remember an actual like movie score soundtrack was in. Metal Gear Solid 2 was one of the first ones that actually
Metal Gear
used.
Solid.
Well, Metal Gear Solid did not actually, because Metal Gear Solid 2 actually had a Hollywood composer doing the music for.
But even
that.
Metal Gear Solid 1's music in comparison.
Oh
to other
no,
stuff
it's
at the
great.
time
Oh,
was-
it's great. But that was the first one where nowadays you hear a lot of like Hollywood movie composers. Hans Zimmer doing a lot of different video game soundtracks and music scores, and so like he really changed the game for video games, and I think he's gonna still do that with Kojima Productions. And the only thing that he's got going against him is the fact that it's taking forever for him to publish and produce one game. But honestly, all right, eat me up.
Well, actually, I wonder, because you're talking about Death Stranding, right?
Yes. Oh,
I
yeah.
wonder how much of that was trying to wrangle, like, certain licenses and rights to things, which is why it might be taking so long.
Maybe.
Because Norman Reedus' likeness and all that stuff, I have a feeling was tied to
Silent Hills.
I wonder if they had to try and wrestle that shit away from
From Konami.
No, he's allowed to do his likeness out as many times as he wants. They know, unless we had an exclusivity deal with Konami, then they
which they never said anything about an exclusivity.
Which, as far as I
deal.
know, he never did.
Yeah.
But no, as much as I enjoy Kojima's game, well, I should say I've enjoyed 2 of his games. The rest of them are
Yeah, I know.
like Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 were fantastic.
I liked Raiden.
3, I mean, even just starting with that opening, he's wanting to make a Bond game. It's literally that opening is literally ripped from a Bond movie from the 60s.
Well, I think most of even the opening of Metal Gear Solid 1 was like a Bond game too.
But
he was in a freaking suit, for God's sakes, while he was in an elevator.
Well, that's only if the second playthrough.
Oh,
you
that's
gotta remember
true.
he wears the sneaking suit and the diving suit normally.
True.
No, but like, do you remember the opening to Snake Eater? It's the entire like psychedelic trippy Bond type. Yeah, it's an entire like going through like the barrel of the gun and watching people dance. It's like, okay, so like
It was ridiculous.
like Kojima, and this is gonna get a lot of people pissed off, is basically the Tarantino of video games. He gets far more credit than he deserves. He has some good ideas, but he is such an egotistical fuck that he gets more credit than he deserves.
Was that a lot of him, or was it a lot of Konami also putting their sense in?
It's
Because I mean, we saw how controlling Konami can be.
Yeah, but I do
So,
think
I
that
mean-
he had, because of the success of the Metal Gear Solid games, I think he had a lot more control than the average Konami employee did.
Oh yeah. There's no doubt about that. Like, the vision for Metal Gear Solid is his vision. Hence why it gets more batshit insane the farther it went on.
Oh, I mean, some of the things I agree. I think he. What is happening?
I was looking for something.
Oh,
No,
it's fine.
Okay.
I agree to a point with what you're saying, because it's like, as the Metal Gear games went on, it literally became this isn't a game anymore. I'm watching this.
Well, it's not
kind of like how Xenosaga became later in the
It's
series.
not just that, like, okay, like Metal Gear Solid 1. Okay, there's like the slight element of like the sci-fi with like the Metal Gears themselves, and then Psycho Mantis.
Yeah. Oh, I love
So you're like,
Psycho Mantis.
Psycho Mantis was an amazing.
So you're like,
villain.
okay, there's a little bit touch of like sci-fi here. And then all of a sudden, Metal Gear Solid 2. All of a sudden,
Now I'm fighting a vampire.
you got the vampire. You got Vamp, who is a nano fucking vampire.
Yeah, the Vamp.
Then you got Fortune, who has the personal force shield, carrying around a rail gun. And then like Metal Gear Solid 3, now you got this guy that's able to shoot bees out of his fucking arm and shit like that. You're like, and then Metal Gear Solid 4,
Did
you
you
got
say bees?
Yes,
bees.
Not the bees.
like it's. Like, some of his concepts, yes, are great, and he has, as a whole, he can push the industry forward for that type of game. But his games are not moneymakers. They are not good.
Yeah.
I mean, the part of the reason Konami got so pissed off at him, his games take a shit ton of time and money develop and do not return the money.
It's true, I think. I think we talked to Tim about this kind of thing once, about how...
I mean, if you look at how many games are in the Metal Gear Solid series versus, like, how much money they've made, it's a joke.
Yeah.
Hence why, like, they made those shitty, like, quick ones for PSP, like Metal Gear Solid Acid and I think Acid 2, Peace Walkers and stuff like that. And,
yeah, those ones. Yeah.
I mean, that's why they turned around and they tried to capitalize on, like, the Battle Royale type thing when they made,
Metal Gear Survive or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because they basically were like, you took so long to make Metal Gear Solid 5, we need to turn around and make money off this engine. You sat there and basically did nothing for like 6 years. We want our money back. And like Metal Gear Solid 5 isn't even a finished game.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like literally, you get to a certain point and the game basically cuts off and there's supposed to be more missions, but that's it, you're done.
Oh. Oh, shit.
Yeah, like, so he's like, yeah, he's a great visionary. I mean, he's kind of like George Lucas. Great visionary. Don't let him work on his own. He needs someone that can control him.
That can control him, yeah.
Yeah. But I remember he has a lot of great ideas.
Yeah.
Like, which
Like I
one
said,
was
just
it where
like Lucas.
where you're walking down the river and you just see all the bodies of
Metal Gear
everyone
Solid
you've
3.
killed fucking floating down
That's
the
Metal
river?
Gear Solid 3.
It was such a cool thing. 'Cause they're kind of reminded me of, like, Scarecrow.
Oh,
in Arkham Asylum.
Oh, my God.
That was such a cool, and it was such
really
a
was.
mind fuck.
That
Well,
was.
and like, there's another cool thing in Metal Gear Solid 3. There's a sniper you fight. He's this old guy. And if you want to, you can either get to the battle and fight him, or you could save before him, jump the PlayStation's PS2's clock ahead, and go back, and he just dies of old age.
Oh, really?
Yeah!
That's really
So
funny.
like, there's cool little touches like that, but like the games as a whole are just a mess.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
It's gonna get a lot of flack, I know that, but
Who knows, man? Death Stranding's got a lot riding on it, I think, for him.
It does. It does.
yeah.
So.
I haven't seen too much about Death Stranding. I've heard it's very
Weird.
bizarre. Yeah, I heard
Carry
it's
a baby around in a bubble, for Christ's sake.
it kind of reminds me of Yoshi's Island.
Oh, God, that was the worst. That was the worst part of that game.
Oh, man. Oh, fuck. What were you going to say before? You pointed at your phone about something before.
Oh, no, Obsidian did KOTOR 2.
Okay,
Oh.
who did... Oh, so BioWare did 1.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. For me, I would have to say Atlas is one of my favorites, but I'm not... I love Atlas, I really do. But I'm not entirely sold every time they pump out a game, because there's a lot of games they do that are just very bizarre that I can't quite get on board with. But Vanillaware is that a developer, or is that just like
I think they're the developer of Odin Sphere.
I know they did Odin Sphere. I'm pretty sure they did Miramasa. They did Dragon's Crown.
Yeah, I think they're the developer.
Okay, I wasn't sure if they were a developer, if that was just like they did the art style. So I can never remember. But anytime I see the Vanillaware logo, I'm sold. Like even this Aegis Rim.
Yeah, they're a developer.
Okay, cool, awesome. I'm not entirely sure I want, because I'm not. I'd have to look more into it. But this 13 Sentinels thing, the gameplay kind of makes me a little leery. But I love the art style beyond anything, because their games are just so unbelievably gorgeous. Like, we're going to play Dragon's Crown on the channel at some point. I would love to, with all 4 of us. The 3 of us and then Tim. And this game's beautiful. Like, the cutscenes with, like, the mermaid or the dragons, it's just... It's breathtaking. I love, like, that watercolor look with... And so... It blows me away. So I see Vanillaware, I'm in love.
Yeah.
You know, even Inti Creates or Way Forward. Their games are incredible. You know, and... So they're one of the ones too where it's...
I didn't think Way Forward was big enough. That's why I didn't like.
That's true.
Way
I suppose
Forward
they're
is
not
well
They're
because
not
that
really
was
AAA.
because that would be my idea of like I
They're a
think
minor league team.
they are, but they've been consistent.
Yeah.
Their only fault, in my opinion, is that they're almost a one-trick pony. Because they seem to do the same games over and over and over again.
Oh,
but
you mean like From Software? You can only develop one type of game anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
Bungie's kind of the same way.
But no, I honestly, like, Way Forward had, what was the first, I saw Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which was just absolutely amazing. And
it was fun.
Yeah, and that was way...
got pulled.
That was Way Forward. They did the remake of DuckTales.
What is happening?
I have no idea.
Shantae, I think.
Yes,
forward.
Shantae was the first game that I ever played by them, and then I did the DuckTales remastered, and then I saw Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. They even did TMNT Danger of the Ooze, which was almost like a Metroid. Well, not almost. It was a Metroidvania clone. And Way Forward has just done a lot of really great things that I just like. To me, they're the ones who are the closest to where, if something had the Way Forward attached to it, like I would feel pretty confident, 90%. Like, I'll get this game and I know that I'm probably gonna like it.
Yeah. I didn't know they went all the way back to 94.
Who's that? Way Forward?
Oh
yeah, they did. Yep.
Yeah,
I mean, Shantae was GBA or
Mickey's
GBC.
Ultimate Challenge was their first game.
But that was 2000 though.
Was it really? Game Boy Color?
It was, Game Boy Color. Well, Game Boy Color came out in 1998.
Shantae was 2002.
Okay.
Oh, it was 2002. It was one of the last.
I didn't know that.
It was one of the last games for the Game Boy Color.
It's expensive.
Which is why it's expensive.
Yeah.
Because it did not have a very long shelf life.
I'm surprised.
So.
Well, and they did Sigma.
Yeah, that one I knew.
Yeah.
And that game's incredible. But that was GBA.
Yeah.
Yes, that was Game Boy Advance.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys have a good point about, they're more of an indie developer, which... What do you feel is the biggest difference between, like, AAA developers and indie developers? Like, do you think AAA developers can be a little bit more lax, knowing that they can kind of put out a more mediocre product, whereas indie developers have to really kind of push their shit? You know what I mean? Like, do you feel like there's a difference in quality between AAA and indie developers?
I almost feel it's the other way around, actually, where the indie developers can make a game that may not be the greatest, but it's not going to bankrupt them. AAAs, you see a lot more cases of where one bad game, and all of a sudden it's like they could potentially go out of business.
Do you feel like, even like with Square Enix, with Kingdom Hearts 3, took them so long because they wanted to make a good product instead of putting out a shoddy piece of shit? I don't know. I haven't played Kingdom Hearts 3, so I don't know how good it is. But do you think... Because, I mean, if you think about it, Shovel Knight that's an indie developer. Their game exploded.
Yeah.
What was that, Yacht Club?
Yeah, Yacht Club Games.
Their game is insanely good. But do you feel like indie developers have to try harder?
I think overall indie developers are a little bit more free to take risk than AAA developers. That's why you see a new Call of Duty every year. It's why you saw a new Assassin's Creed every year. These bigger companies are to the point where they've gotten so big, they have no other choice but to keep turning product out or start downsizing.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, it's one of those things where they've gotten, it's the too big to fail mindset, where they're just these big companies, and if they go out, then, there's gaming, it's gone type thing.
I almost feel like AAA developers are falling into a trap of they can't do anything different, like you just said.
Yeah.
They have to put out a new Call of Duty instead of something different, maybe. Where, even Square Enix, when was the last time you saw a different Square Enix RPG? Other than Kingdom Hearts, or isn't Monster Hunter Capcom?
That's Capcom.
That is Capcom. Yes, it is. I almost feel like you don't really even see... Or Final Fantasy. There you go. That's Square Enix. I feel like these companies can't really do anything new because they can't.
People,
you know what I mean?
People want the old stuff versus the new stuff. So.
Well, they have that fan base that got them to AAA status, to being these super big developers, and... Yeah, they have to walk that fine line of, okay, this is our core fan base, we must appease them, but at the same time, we need to do other stuff, but they're going to get backlash if they go too far outside the norm.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, it's a big issue that's happened with comic books over the years. I mean, they try to do new stuff, and there's sometimes such a massive pushback against it that Like, I mean, it happens with every industry. Don't make that face and I'll punch you.
I'm making the face because they're going about it all wrong.
That's the problem, yeah.
They want to do different things, but they're doing it because they are trying to be more diverse.
Well, okay, yeah, there is that too. But bigger companies, they have to do the new, but they have to keep the old going, and it's a double-edged sword. There's no perfect way to go about it. Whereas like indie developer, the first game they make could be a Metroid clone, and then they can go off and be like,
let's do a puzzle game.
I'm gonna do like a Mario Picross style game, and then I'm gonna go off and we're gonna do a visual novel next, and they could do what they want because they don't have to. Like, while their livelihoods are a little bit more on the line, they don't have to also worry about producing the same big numbers that a AAA does.
No, and it seems like they have more creative freedom to do what they want to do, but their chances of greater success are not as high as the AAA developers.
I feel like Atlas is that weird enigma, because look at how many different games Atlas has really put out. I mean, you have the Persona series, and then you have Catherine, which is, and for all intents and purposes, it's a
puzzle.
It's a puzzle / like visual novel, well, maybe not visual novel, but it's more story based, but it's at its heart, it's a puzzle game, which you don't see a lot of, like developers like that going into different genres. Like, I mean, well, I suppose you kind of.
There is one way that I think. Indie developers are a bit more shoehorned is unfortunately the vast majority of them are stuck in doing retro clones.
That seems to be a big thing I've noticed over the past generation.
They're not free to go off and do a bit more of a further thing. Like, they're stuck basically in 8 and 16-bit era, and if they deviate outside that, they basically fail.
I feel like you have to thank and be upset with Shovel Knight on that one. The success of Shovel Knight being the 8-bit gem that was, it started this whole indie developer turn.
It was a boom.
Let's make all of our games 8-bit because that's what it was that captured everybody. It's like, no, it really wasn't that per se, but
it was like Final Fantasy Tactics did for the strategy RPG.
To be honest, the same thing kind of happened to AAA developers. Look at the success of Borderlands and how many games tried to emulate that afterwards.
It's true.
I mean, even like Destiny and stuff emulates it to a certain degree.
So a game doesn't take itself seriously, but at the same time it does.
Well, not just that, but it's also like the loot systems and like, I mean, I suppose you can go back further. They're copying from like games like Diablo and stuff like that, but
that was a first-person Diablo. Yeah, pretty much actually.
So like you got those genre-defining games that everyone wants to copy. But then everyone gets stuck in that rut, and no one seems to be able to get out until that random one developer does it, and then all of a sudden everyone's now stuck in doing that.
Yeah, I almost feel like the degree of success is varied as well, because Time Spinner is one that I really liked. It's Metroidvania.
Yeah.
Like, that genre, for some reason, has just exploded over the past, decade, I would say, as far as gaming goes. There is such an abundance of Metroidvanias. Chasm, you have Sundered, the Eldritch story or whatever. That was another one. Even
Iconoclast technically is.
Iconoclast is a Metroidvania. Oh, absolutely. There are just so many. There was one that came out not that long ago. It's Aglagos, I think it was called. It's Metroidvania, but it caters more to the 8-bit style more than a 16-bit. But that genre has really boomed. And you're right, Shovel Knight is 100% to blame for that.
Oh, yeah.
Blame / credit. No, it's a great genre.
Like it or hate it, but they are the ones who caused this whole this whole uproar for 8-bit and 16-bit style graphics that you now are seeing on everything.
Yeah, that's very true. But it's like you said, Kevin, there's that one developer that does it right. I mean, like you said, Diablo was incredible. I can't really think of too many games that were like it at the time.
Well, because they were all more like the Baldur's Gate or something like that, where they were more the D&D the emulators.
Yeah.
And then Diablo was like, we want to make the hack and slash,
let's make it more accessible.
And and find the loot and do this sort of stuff. And then
RuneScape.
That became an addiction. And now, they're up to Diablo 3. There's all the other, games that copy that style. So,
and I suppose it's also too like they're just how different you can do it, because like you said, it's Borderlands is for all intents and purposes a Diablo, but let's make it first person shooter to appeal to like the Halo crowd or the Call of Duty crowd, you know.
Yeah.
So in a weird
and
way,
they also to me at least they kind of push the whole, we have a semi-serious narrative, but we are laden with jokes everywhere.
Yeah.
Type thing, because
so it makes it funny.
Other than that, like Time Splitters was like the only other one I can think of that did that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah,
on
yeah,
PS2,
you're right.
but like now that's a very common thing.
There are a lot of games that like the self-referential jokes. I mean, look at No More Heroes. That was kind of like that too.
Yeah.
Where it's just it definitely does not take itself seriously.
Well, I mean, yeah, especially the first No More Heroes. Jack off the controller to power up your sword.
Going to the bathroom to save.
And he held it like this. So it's like, okay.
Yeah. But like I was saying, Tactics, I mean, just completely... How many clones of Final Fantasy Tactics came out after that came out? You had Vandal Hearts, you had Eternalized. But that was the thing, is there were games before it that had, like, Ogre Battle was essentially like that before, and that was SNES.
Well, what's the one
It
when,
was.
what is it that your brother used to play all the time in the small TV in the corner?
Brigandine.
There we go.
But that was kind of more of a Shining Force.
Oh, yeah, I suppose.
But, well,
Wasn't-
that's kind of what Tactics is. It's an isometric Shining Force.
And then, like Vanguard Bandits, which was just like a mecha version of it, or Front Mission.
And I
Square.
might be wrong, but wasn't Final Fantasy Mystic Quest? Was that something like that?
No, that was just turn-based RPG,
Oh,
but
okay.
it wasn't. It wasn't
select
random
location.
encounters, but it also that game was so hard to describe.
Well, it was basically set pieces. You went. This is the dungeon you have. You explore it. You can see it. Once that dungeon's done, you move on to the next dungeon.
So with
there
the
is no in
isometric
between.
view, like would Super Mario RPG was just like that too? Then.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Except
So
that
it's
one
like
you
Final
can't freely
Fantasy.
rotate the camera.
Oh, okay.
This
so
one you could pivot
Oh,
and
so
rotate.
in Tactics you could actually freely rotate the camera. Oh, interesting.
But it was always at that weird angle. It wasn't like a top down,
Yeah,
but it
I know.
also
It was
wasn't off
three-
on the side.
It was the 3/4 view.
Yeah. But I know, like Ogre Battle was on the SNES.
Yes.
That wasn't March of the Black Queen.
Yes, it was.
Was it?
I think-
I thought that was Ogre Battle 64.
Oh, it was. It was just Ogre Battle. That's right.
Maybe
it was just, for Super Nintendo. It was just Ogre Battle. Yeah.
But I suppose even games like that. I mean, you had games like that even back on the NES. I mean, Nobunaga's Ambition, I'm pretty sure, is kind of like that.
Technically,
Or,
my favorite's the
Ultima.
Yeah, Ultima games, because they're grid based. You
suppose
move.
so.
Turn. Yeah.
Genghis Khan, I think, is kind of like
Genghis
that.
Khan.
No,
Bandit Kings of Ancient China.
Which one was it? I just saw somebody on the Two Dudes thing. It was, or Aaron Hickman posted. It was by Koei. Damn it.
Romance of the Three Kingdoms,
Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. It was
Yeah,
one of
that's
those
what it was,
games
yeah.
that were like that.
or Uncharted Waters.
Oh, I don't know.
No, I'm spouting off all the Koei games that I can think of.
Cool. I'm glad we're doing
Dynasty
Warriors.
But then again, the first Dynasty Warriors is not like the other ones. The first Dynasty Warriors wasn't a beat 'em up, go and kill massive amounts of people.
Yeah, which is funny because now even the Dynasty Warriors created its own genre of the mass scale. I mean, it's
So much so that they
RPG,
did
yeah.
like the gun. Well,
yeah.
they did Samurai Warriors, and then they did
Warriors Orochi.
Well, no, then they
Although
did
that was
they
a
did
different
Samurai
thing.
Warriors. Then Warriors Orochi's Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors together. But then they did the Gundam ones. They did the Zelda one.
Hyrule Warriors. They did Fire Emblem Warriors.
Fire Emblem. They've got
It's-
One Piece and Berserk has one.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
How big do you or how influential do you have to be to make you've just created a genre of game?
Well,
You know what I mean? Like that's
Well,
crazy
but see,
to think about.
what do you think about it before? Because you're pitching an idea, and then all of a sudden you're like, they may or may not believe in your product. And then all of a sudden you've spawned this entire thing. How do you, as that individual, feel?
Yeah.
well, that's what Capcom did with survival horror with Resident Evil. Is they really
It's true.
coined that. They really coined that that genre of video game. There was nothing quite like it before that.
That's very true. Not that I can recall, anyway.
No.
Not to that degree.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I suppose you could say the Clock Tower games were, or Clock Tower on the SNES was sort of like it. Was it? Well, not sort of like it. It was a survival horror, but that was more of a point and click.
It was, yeah. It was.
That's
more
of an adventure game.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it would still be considered survival horror, but it's just at the time, like, it was not as. It wasn't as mainstream. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't done by a AAA developer. It didn't even come to the United States. So us gamers in the West didn't even know that it existed.
Yeah.
So to us, the first one that really bridged that gap from Japan to the Western audience was Resident Evil, and so then it just introduced the world to a new genre.
Yeah. I would say
B-movie games.
I know. What is this?
Fucking Dino Crisis.
Hey. Sorry, that one did stuff that Resident Evil wouldn't do for years after.
The fact that you can walk and shoot at the same time.
Yeah.
That was huge back then. I remember that very well.
I mean, granted, that series went off the rails real quick.
Didn't
Like,
you go to space?
Dino Crisis 3, you're in space, and you had like the
Three.
jump jets and stuff like that. It's like, come on, guys.
Did the dinosaurs have little helmets too?
I think some of them were like cyber augmented and stuff like that.
That was funny.
I don't think I ever finished that one, but
It's like, what if Resident Evil was in the time of the dinosaurs? Dino Crisis.
Fucking crazy. So who do you guys feel in this era, or any era really, was just an overrated developer? Like, obviously, we talked about Data East back at the beginning of the episode. I felt was hugely overrated. Who do you guys feel is like doesn't quite deserve all the credit that they've been handed?
this is going to be one that's going to piss off a lot of people.
Just saying.
But back in the day, NES, Super NES, N64, even GameCube, Nintendo deserved the praise they got. They were the ones that were always trying to help push and get things going and doing stuff, and they were definitely a for the players type thing.
I mean, for Christ's sake, they birthed the video game industry back into prominence.
Nowadays, like, they put out like the Switch. I love my Switch, but the vast majority of games Nintendo like self develops and put out are fucking garbage. Mario needs to die. Him and his a billion spin-offs need to die.
Good luck on that.
I know.
Not gonna happen.
But see, that's the thing, is like people will just keep lapping it up because it is the name. There's the name recognition. It's like the same reason Nike shoes are fucking garbage. Idiots will still buy them.
But that'd be like saying Call of Duty needs to go away.
Well, it does. It's one of those. There are certain franchises that do need to die so that other stuff can step up and be recognized. But unfortunately, people are too set in buying shit. So these other games that need to be recognized will never be recognized. Unless they can find some way to make a name for themselves.
Kind of like how Zelda and Horizon got into that battle between each other when Breath of the Wild came out.
Yeah.
So how like Horizon was kind of pushed to the side when Breath of the Wild came up because it was Zelda. It was essentially overshadowed by name only.
Yeah.
It had no bearing on how the games actually played because, to me personally, I thought Horizon played better.
It's the better game.
I thought Horizon was a better experience than Breath of the Wild was. Don't get me wrong, I love Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm a huge Zelda fan. I love the series in its entirety.
But Horizon was a very
It was
original,
different.
fresh take.
It felt incredible to play, and it was extremely, very well just conceived.
Yeah.
You know, it was a new IP that felt fresh.
Well, and it also gave you a lot more variety than Breath of the Wild did. If you want to play a pure stealth way in Horizon, you can.
Yeah.
Or if you want to go in guns blazing, you can. Whereas Breath of the Wild, you basically can't. You're Link. You're going to go in either sword or bow. That's your options. Or bomb.
Yeah, but I mean, I can see where you're coming from, but I feel like with Mario specifically, he's one he's just so iconic, not just with Nintendo, but gaming in general. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that can beat Mario.
No.
Like, he's literally the face of video games. Mm-hmm. I mean, there is nobody alive who doesn't know what Mario is. You know what I mean? Even like our grandparents knew who Mario is.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, so it's like to say he's overrated is kind of.
But that is the quintessential of being overrated. If everyone and their dog knows who you are, At that point,
it doesn't know.
I would
That
say
doesn't
overrated
mean-
would mean you could
Yeah.
put out a game that's just 100% trash
Yeah.
and people will still buy it.
Mario 64.
I hate Mario 64.
Odyssey. Mario Sunshine.
Mario Odyssey-
Galaxy 1 and 2.
I liked Odyssey.
See, now you're just trying to alienate the viewers and
No, I'm trying to
I
get
don't
viewers
like
that
it.
have taste.
Sunshine.
And here I thought he was gonna say like, oh, you put his face on subpar games. It's like
It would sell.
Mario is missing. Mario's time machine.
Mario's typing.
Mario's typing. And they didn't sell. They didn't sell.
I mean,
Those
Mario's
ones
had
sold
flops.
terrible.
Mario's had flops.
But Super Mario 64, a lot of people love that game.
I personally don't.
Super Mario Sunshine, a lot of people do like that game.
Yeah, there's no accounting for taste.
Super Mario Galaxy, people thought that those were like phenomenal games.
They're like
I think.
graphically, yeah, they're pretty. They're great that way. And like the skill to develop them, yeah, cool. I won't like say the developers don't have skill, but they're just not good games.
Okay.
You're wrong, Paul.
We're sorry.
No, we're not.
Actually, Kevin's not sorry. I'm sorry for you.
Go back to your shrimp crackers.
I don't like Mario. I'm not a huge Mario fan, but I recognize what he brings to the table as far as the games go. Because I mean, look, every platformer is essentially Mario Brothers. You know, I mean, you can't compare.
It was inspired by Mario.
Yeah, even the Galaxy games and Sunshine and even Odyssey, while it's Mario. You really can't do a whole lot different with it in a platforming aspect.
Mm-hmm.
It still maintained a fresh thing to it. Like the whole idea of being in the separate worlds in Galaxies was a cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Rosalina. She's a babe. Even though it's weird because it's kind of Luigi's daughter, but that's neither here nor there.
Continue.
But like Mario, I mean, just the fact that he's transcended so many different genres, like even Super Mario RPG, you can't deny that game was incredible.
Well, I mean, see, that's one of the side ones that is worth the praise that it gets.
Superstar Saga was incredibly great for the GBA. The Paper Mario games were also very good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I mean, to say Mario's overrated, I suppose it depends on what context you're looking at. I'd say he's oversaturated. Absolutely. He's on everything.
Mm-hmm.
You can't escape him. But I don't know necessarily overrated.
Yeah, he's overrated. All of his games are glorified tech demos outside of like the side ones that aren't even developed by Nintendo.
Some of the RPG ones do get a little weird. Like Bowser's Inside Story I didn't care for. But, and what was the one where you're Luigi? Was it Dream Team? It was Mario and Luigi's Dream
Partners
Team.
in Time or something like that.
No, that was after Superstar,
Oh,
where
was it?
you went back. You had the babies, which was stupid. But no, it was Dream Team where you're in Luigi's dream.
I don't remember.
It was
I didn't
goofy.
play any of those.
Yeah, I only played Superstar Saga and then Partners in Time. But yeah, I don't know. You're the only one in the room that feels that way.
Nope, that's because I'm right. You guys are wrong.
Of course it is. Yep.
Well, what about you, Paul? What do you feel is overrated?
Well, I can give you another one, but keep going.
We know you could. We could go all day.
Well, no, the other one rightly deserves the criticism. But go ahead.
The are you talking about more like contemporary companies?
It can be anything.
or
Any developer, any game series or whatever. Just any of the ones that you feel like their games really aren't what they should be, but because of the name or the brand recognition that people lap it up.
So, I mean, it is going back. It's
kind of
not
a tough question.
It's not contemporary, but honestly, and I think we've alluded to this before, but I honestly think that Data East is, for some reason, they get like people love Data East. They think memorably on the games that they have produced.
Yeah.
But when you really break it down and you play some of the games that they have developed, and I think Trade West is actually a part of that as well too.
Oh,
Data
yes.
East and Trade West, they're the same company.
Yeah.
And so I mean, you've got like the Double Dragon series, which is a very highly regarded series, but on the Nintendo, like 1 and 3 aren't that great. 2 people tend to like and gravitate towards, but even that one's not all that great. Battletoads. People know Battletoads, and it has the reputation of being one of the hardest games on the system, but people generally think about it in positive sense. But it's not the greatest game.
God no, it's riddled with just cheap hits.
Yeah.
It's really, even from a playability standpoint, it's not that good.
No, it's not great.
No.
Karnov had so many damn issues, which it was based on an arcade game, yes, but when it was ported to the Nintendo, obviously there was glitches. There were so many glitches. There was a point where I couldn't even hit the frickin' boss, like the last guy of the game, because he was like, something happened and he was glitched out, and I couldn't even attack him.
Was Double Dragon an arcade game?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel like Data East was good in arcade sense.
In the arcades.
But once their games came to NES, like, they were just garbage.
Or in just systems in general, maybe. I mean, yeah.
That could just be the tech restrictions.
I think so.
Well, with Double Dragon 1, it definitely was, because they didn't know how to program two-player. And so that's why there is no two-player, which there is a two-player mode, but it's literally just the fighting. No, it's the fighting game version.
Like Trojan.
Yeah, it's because they didn't know how to do a two-player. So in the arcade game, you actually could play two-player, because basically whoever was playing as Jimmy Lee, like, you two ended up fighting against each other to, like, for the last boss.
Jimmy and Bimmy. Oh no.
Yeah. So, but I mean, actually, let me see. Another one that I remember them going. Like Joe and Mac. I mean, that one had so many issues as we were playing through it as well too. Let's see here. Oh, hold on. Okay. Video games. Bad Dudes.
Oh God!
Did we do that one yet? No, we haven't
yet.
done that one yet. Captain America and the Avengers.
Oh, it wasn't good.
It was decent, but not
What
that
you
great.
mean, like losing your character and getting pushed back or whatever when you guys lost Hawkeye?
Halfway across the damn country.
You didn't enjoy that experience?
To the point where we couldn't even get back.
They did the wonderful SNES version of Dragon's Lair, which is a very highly regarded game. Oh, Heavy Barrel, Joe and Max series, Karate Champ.
Heavy Barrel, I actually didn't mind. That was a pretty good game.
Let's
I don't remember which
see.
one that is.
That was it was kind of like it's not top down. Oh yeah, it was kind of like a top down shooter. Oh, kind of reminiscent of Jackal, but you were on foot and you assembled pieces of the Heavy Barrel.
Yeah,
When you got the big ass laser gun.
and they did RoboCop and RoboCop 2, of course. Side Pocket, they did. Tag Team Wrestling. Do you remember that game?
Yeah,
With the strong bads?
I like that one.
And Data East and Werewolf. Which was not that great either.
No.
So I mean, they literally do not have, like, other than the Battletoads series, which may have gotten a little bit better on the Super Nintendo versus the Nintendo. Data East has really not done anything really strong. They have great IPs. They've got the Double Dragon franchise. They've got the Battletoads franchise. Maybe Joe and Mac. I don't know if I would consider that one. But, I mean, they've got great IPs, but they just cannot make a good game to save their lives.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I honestly think that Data East, while it is a highly regarded company, I think, honestly, as a developer, they were not good. They were definitely overrated. And I don't know what people remember, or they're just looking back on the past with their rose-colored glasses, but it is not as good as people remember it being, all of their games.
Kevin, I know you said you had another one.
No, go ahead and do yours first.
I don't actually have one for this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't really.
You don't think that anybody's overrated, huh?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
Oh.
You guys have kind of hit pretty much where I would go with it.
The only other one I can think of is, we kind of already alluded to it, is From Software. But, like, okay, they did Demon Souls, and they kind of, they kicked off that genre of, the harder style games.
Yeah.
But that's literally all they do. They're like, yeah, the games have some, technical increases with each game that's come between, like, then they went to, what was it? It was Demon Souls, then it's Dark Souls. And then Bloodborne.
Oh,
and now
so those
Sekiro.
So those are not actually Atlas?
They're all from software.
It's called From Software?
From Software. I think Atlas is the publisher.
Is a publisher. Oh, okay, but they didn't develop them. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, unless if it's the opposite way.
You know, it's funny, speaking of those games, I liked Bloodborne to a point, but I absolutely hated the Demon Souls, Dark Souls series.
Atlas
really?
Published and distribution in the U.S. for Demon Souls.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So, but yeah, it's From Software. Like, From Software used to have...
Software from where?
That's funny. But they used to have, like, the Tenchu series.
Oh my god, seriously? Tenchu Stealth Assassins.
Doesn't exist anymore because of stuff like Demon Souls. And, like, people are like, oh, these games are fantastic. They're really great at storytelling and blah, blah, blah.
Ugh.
And, like, to a certain... Yeah, because they have some, like, the best world building and stuff. I'm like, no.
I did not get any of that from their games.
They don't. Like, the only thing these games have going for them is challenge. The aesthetics are very boring and bland and, like, washed out looking.
I have never heard anybody say there's a lot of world building in these games.
Yeah, you don't talk to their fan base then.
The only thing that I have ever heard about the Demon Souls and Dark Souls games is that they're notable for being difficult.
No, like, because, like, every item tells part of the story and, like, location. Like, the people, like, they tout their world building as, like, the best of the best, and I'm like, their gameplay is boring. It's slow. Like, if you know, like, you watch, like, play with, like, a longsword in the game, the way you use it, it's like, well, guess what? A real person that was trained to use a longsword doesn't do that. Like, they don't suck that way. Stop being stupid. You're a trained knight. Why are you fucking garbage? So it's like, and like, that's all they can do anymore is that style, and they do not deserve the praise.
No, that's...
Well, I remember, like, their games really aren't that hard.
Well, and see, that's the other
like,
thing.
I remember, like, Bloodborne, yeah, it was difficult, but it wasn't, like... It wasn't hard. It was just you could only take like 2 or 3 hits, which is what made it hard.
And that's the other thing. That's part of my big reason I don't like them. There is a difference between, and I know we've talked about this before, there is a difference between real difficulty and artificial difficulty.
Yeah.
Real difficulty is the AIs outmaneuvering you, outflanking you, and doing stuff while at the same rate of all stuff you're able to do.
Yeah.
But then when enemies can hit harder and move faster than you can, that's not real difficulty. That's them basically, and then it's basically just a flat-out boring numbers game against you.
Yeah, like we had talked about that, I think, during Aria of Sorrow, when we did that playthrough about scaling.
Yeah.
It might have been in a segment that got cut in a fast forward, but we talked, like, games that scale with you as you level up. Like, that is a form of artificial difficulty. Because no matter how strong you become, no matter how much you grind, they're always going to be that step
a little bit more than you.
And like, this is like, I mean, granted, artificial difficulty is a problem in most RPGs.
It is.
Because it's basically just okay, I'm this level, they're this level, or I have this equipment. If I have this equipment, the fight's completely different.
Yeah.
But then again, you're not playing RPGs for, like, the complex combat and stuff like that. You're playing it for the story, usually.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the combat's a bonus.
Yeah, like, if it's fun combat, cool. And, like, if it, like, or if it's like the Persona and stuff. What's their...
Shin Megami Tensei.
There we go. It's the Shin Megami where it's more of a... Okay, enemies can use these status effects and it actually affects the tide of battle and you have to think a bit more on it. That's cool. That's great.
Yeah.
But, like if back from, like, that's all... Like, all it is, okay, I hit by 10, my enemy hits by 50.
Yeah, right.
And, like, yeah, you can take the time to go in a circle and kill shit to, like, level up. But, like, even as you're leveling, it's one of those things where, okay, eventually you just hit the grind that's in, like, RPGs where, okay, I'm no longer getting anything that's worth it so that I can level up, progress to the next section, and repeat.
Right.
So it's just, it doesn't deserve the recognition they get.
Yeah. That's why I feel, and I've talked about this for a while now, but Trails of Cold Steel, that series is truly one of the best examples of a perfect RPG. The fights are actually, like, they're difficult, but it's because they make you think. Like, you actually have to plan out moves and think about how the enemies are going to react to what you're doing.
It's a real strategy RPG, yeah.
You actually have to think about how, like, do you prioritize healing at this point? Or, because you can like kind of manipulate the turn order in a weird way in that game.
You could do that in Super Mario RPG too, because then you had to, especially if you used a team that did not have Princess in there, you really had to be careful on like, okay, who was going to be healing, or can I take one more hit before I use a healing item, or am I almost close enough to beating this guy, or like, or will he have enough life to then just completely just destroy me? So it's I like that it's almost like a chess game that you're playing.
Yeah. And that like Trails of Cold Steel, like the story is just so enthralling that it's literally the perfect game for me. It's truly going down as one of my favorite RPG series of all time. It's easily one of my top 5, just because of how excellent the combat is, and it keeps it fresh with introductions of new abilities and new things like this and that. Like Eternal Sonata for at the time I think it was
Xbox
only 360. I have it for PS3 because I know it came out on PS3.
Yeah, that was the second release of it.
That also was an extremely great RPG and that's very perfect.
Honestly, that's one of my favorites, not only for style, but like the soundtrack. And
oh yeah, the story was phenomenal. It was a story about Frederick Chopin.
His last 3 days of his life.
Yeah. So, and just the way combat played was every chapter introduced a new element to it. So it was action, but also turn-based, if that makes sense. So when you start the game, you can sit there and think about what your movement's going to be. Once you start moving, a timer kicks down for as long as you can act. Then once you I think they called it your battle level or whatever. So your battle level increases at the end of the chapter, and then instead of having an infinite amount of time to think about what you're going to do, you have maybe 10 seconds before the timer starts for your action. And then it goes. Then the next chapter, it's down to 5 seconds, and your action time's just a smidge longer. But and it kind of progressed like that until the point where as soon as your character's up, you have to go. Like it's like a learning curve that's like perfect. It was such a great idea, and the story was phenomenal that it's...
Well, and then not to mention, like, you can actually change some of the battle stuff by pushing certain creatures into the shadow to either make them stronger or weaker.
Yeah, that's right. You had different moves.
Like, they would literally transform in shadow, and certain moves would completely change.
Oh, that's cool.
So, like, the battlefield would have clouds coming by, and the cloud cover would actually change your moveset if you were in the light or the dark. It was a really fucking cool game. That would be one I would love to see.
Granted, the numbers in that game got absolutely fucking ridiculous. When you're hitting by like 1 billion damage towards the end of the game.
Oh, really?
You're literally hitting in the millions.
Yeah, because I think towards the end, Alec was hitting like millions and millions of damage at the end. He's like, watch this combo I do. And all of a sudden it's like 16 million damage. I'm like, why do you need numbers this big?
Yeah, you don't.
It's that sense of power. You know.
But I can have the same power on a scale of 10.
If he did 60 million, did he actually kill something?
No, that's the problem, is the creatures didn't die.
Exactly.
Some of them have trillions of life.
Yeah, that's
it's not
ridiculous.
quite,
Was it Star Ocean?
Star Ocean, the
Last Hope?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Where the last boss took me like, what was an hour to fight?
Oh, God.
And then the end cutscene took another 45 minutes. It was, saga.
Ridiculous.
But I mean, those games are the type of perfect like balance. Whereas, like you said, Dark Souls and Demon Souls, or even Bloodborne, it's like you can take 1 or 2 hits.
Yeah.
And even then, like, you're taking away such a little amount of damage that it's just... It feels unfair. Yeah, you can kind of outmaneuver him to a point.
Only certain creatures, because then you had, like, especially in like Bloodborne, you had the werewolves that are a hell of a lot faster than you are.
Bloodborne, I actually admit, I've never finished. I got to a point where I just got so fed up, because I remember it was a point where it's like you cross this bridge and there's these big ass dudes that are just wandering around, but then there's someone shooting at you from like a tower with a gun or an arrow or something. And I just got so fed up because not only am I trying to get around these guys, but then I have this fucker shooting at, and I was like, I can't take it anymore. And I just kind of gave up because there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
You can't take him out because he's going to shoot you before you can even reach him.
And even if you level up, you're still at the disadvantage. And there is a certain like sense of accomplishment from overcoming those challenges, but it's not a... That's, to be honest, I'm surprised those games sell as well as they do.
I don't know, man. It's a different mindset. Just kind of like how in the Dark Souls games, I don't know if they still do it, but when you die, do you still lose your soul and you have to reclaim it?
Yeah.
Okay, because I remember that was the big thing in Demon Souls, is once you died, the game got harder. Sort of. It got harder until you reclaimed your
Until you
sword.
reclaimed your stuff,
Yeah,
basically.
It was really... Because then you were just pretty much a weaker bitch version of yourself.
Yeah.
It was very odd. I mean, I'm sure that, those games have their place, as most do in that genre. But you're right. There does come a point where it's like, all right, can you do something different?
Yeah.
Try something. Even Bungie, did it with Destiny.
And and there's also like the big problem with it is like Sekiro, interesting concept, but it's still more of the same. Yeah, it's a faster paced version of the game.
Who did Neo?
That's Koei, I believe.
Was that Koei? Because wasn't that like Bloodborne and all that too?
Yeah, it's just another copy of them.
Yeah.
So was The Surge and a couple other ones, and okay, Sekiro introduced some new stuff and allowed faster movement and stealth kills and stuff like this, but it's still the same basic numbers game against you, which gets old. But then there was such a massive backlash because there were people that were like, okay, I'd be interested in playing this game, but that style of difficulty and stuff isn't for me. Add an easy mode. But then all of a sudden there was this huge, massive backlash of people that are like, well, if you can't play these games the way they're at this level, then just don't play them, go fuck yourself. It's like, at that point, you're a piece of shit if you think that, and your opinion no longer matters.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because, I mean, that's the whole point of being able to, yes, you want to appease your fan base, but at the same time, you want to be able to draw in other people that you can maybe start them slower and then build up that skill. But if you don't offer them that option and then just say, no, go fuck yourself and kick them into the deep end, what are they supposed to do? They're never going to come back and buy your games.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Well, I think that's all we got for What are you eating? It just... Oh, it didn't even sound like a good... it sounded like a dog biscuit.
Sounds like a digestive. Ugh.
It's, so it's flavored styrofoam. And it's got
The consistency of concrete.
lime.
That's what it sounded like.
Oh.
I think those are a tea cookie. You're supposed to dip in tea or coffee.
So, yeah.
That's a thing.
Yes. Not
They-
common in the U.S.
They make specific cookies that they have to be done.
Haven't you ever heard British people talk about having tea and biscuits and stuff like that?
Or like biscotti. Biscotti's
Biscotti-
technically something you're supposed to dip in coffee.
Yeah.
So they got
up a little bit.
what are they, stroops? Where you put them on top of the cup and it melts them slightly and then you eat them?
Stroopwafel.
There we go.
Yeah. So I suppose we have the versions of those sort of.
But yeah, most more European things that we sort of take.
Bastardized.
Yeah. Add 5 pounds of sugar per one, so they're
Cappuccino.
tolerable.
All right.
But anyway, that's all I got for developers and publishers and whatnot. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Paul?
What?
I don't know, just...
I know the Switch Lite was announced not that long ago. What do you guys feel about that? It's essentially just it's a Switch where the Joy-Cons don't come off of it, and I don't think you can connect it to the television.
It's a
Basically,
smaller battery, smaller screen. The left Joy-Con's 4 buttons are replaced by an actual D-pad. And I think that's basically all that was changed. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a weaker system.
Yeah,
it's basically the 2DS.
kind of.
Of the
actually.
3DS, yeah.
It's a 2DS of the Switch.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
It's a stupid idea.
See, I think it's a good idea, just because it's not like we talked about this a little bit. I never take mine out of the dock. I play my Switch exclusively on the television, but I like the option to play it in handheld
See, I
mode.
tend to play mine more in handheld mode so I can put a movie or something on.
Exactly.
But I don't like the concept. I like being able to have, especially with games that need it, like Hyrule Warriors is a good one where it plays better in docked mode than it does handheld. Mm-hmm. I mean, not by much, but it's...
I know
it's still a
Xenoblade
noticeable,
2
it's
is
a
like that,
noticeable difference in fidelity and stuff like that. So, I like being able to put it in, not having that option taken away, and then not being able to remove the Joy-Cons, stuff like smaller screen, smaller battery.
I think it's because even the 2DS, I know a lot of people were like, why would anybody want this? But it's like, I know so many people who literally don't play 3DS in 3D because it hurts their eyes. So it's like, why would I care about 3D if I don't even want that functionality? So I would say the Switch Lite is more geared towards families who don't really ever play it docked. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
But still want to switch, especially with the coming of Pokemon on Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. I mean, I can imagine that would be a big draw for it.
And the Switch Lite, isn't it? It's cheaper too, isn't it?
Yes.
It's like
It's $200.
Yeah,
I was double
see,
checking
and
the
it's-
price of the regular Switch.
it's $299.
Yeah,
$299 for the regular
if I'm not
Switch,
mistaken.
which, in my opinion, I mean, the Switch didn't need to be lowered in price. I honestly, compared to the other ones, the $299, like, I think it's
not that bad.
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
You don't need to have something that's more like economical and kind of dumb it down so that you can get it down to $200. Like it. But then again, like, are Switches even still being sold?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
are people still buying them? I mean,
I would say so.
it's like
I don't really
everybody
know.
who wants one probably already has one at this point.
With how many games are coming out on the Switch?
Oh, that is
I mean,
true, more
like
games,
I said,
yeah.
Pokemon's coming
Yep,
up. That's a
Sword and
system
Shield.
seller,
Yep.
baby.
I don't know. With the current backlash of that, maybe not.
Oh, get out of here!
What's the current backlash?
Oh,
You didn't hear
you've not
that whole
been part of
debate?
the whole hubbub?
No.
So
What's the hubbub?
a lot of people were
your
butthurt because you know the whole idea of the national decks, right? There was something called the Pokebank where you could essentially import Pokemon from other games into your game.
Oh. Okay.
So it was essentially a Pokemon cloud.
Oh, cool.
So you could take games from Sun and Moon and
was
put it
all-
in this Pokemon
Yeah.
cloud, and then download them in like Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, or X and or I don't remember. How
Only, I don't think it ever went back
It
a
could only go
generation. It
back.
was only forward.
it could only go
I think
back.
so.
So yeah.
So it was something like that.
Okay.
So obviously when when Sword and Shield came out, people were like, "Oh fuck, there's gonna be 1,000 Pokemon in this fucking game." They essentially came back and said, "No, we're not going to put every Pokemon in this game." Because I mean, if you really think about it,
They've never done that before to begin with.
no, they never
Actually-
have. Because you couldn't import Pokemon from Red and Blue into like
Ruby Sapphire.
Ruby
they,
Sapphire.
They were a collectible actually in the game. Their coding was in the game, and you could get them with cheat stuff. And until they introduced later stuff,
But it wasn't intended at that point then.
but they introduced stuff, especially in the DS ones and stuff. They're all there, and the only way to get them was to use other there were other ways to catch them by using like the Pokewalker and stuff like that to catch
Yeah.
some of the later.
Because if I'm not mistaken, you couldn't put Pokemon from Red and Blue into Gold and Silver, could you?
No, but all the Pokemon were in there.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I thought you could. You just couldn't go. You couldn't trade something that wasn't in the first generation. I thought you could.
I don't
Maybe you
think
could.
I don't think you could because you
think so
would
either.
you would not be allowed to trade any Pokemon that was from Gold and Silver into Blue and
Blue and Red.
And
but
Red.
I'm pretty sure you could go the other way, Red and Blue into Gold and Silver, if I'm not mistaken.
Only if it was like a Rattata.
no,
type
because
shit,
if
I
you're
Well, you would
no
have to
because
trade something
because
back.
you'd have to trade something
Yeah, yeah,
back.
yeah.
So that's why I don't think that it would be possible to do that.
I didn't think so
But
either.
up until I think there's only been
The thing is the ones that were on the DS. So it would have been Black and
Yeah, Diamond and Pearl, Black
yeah,
and White.
like all those.
Yeah.
I feel like is kind of when it started, where you could trade them between each other. But at the same time, like people are acting like this is something that's happened from the get go. That you could just have however many Pokemon onto one. How would you? That's
You can't-
impossible.
no, you can't do that.
You can't do that. So people were extremely butthurt about hearing that maybe their particular favorite Pokemon wouldn't be part of the game.
Okay.
So they got this huge uproar of people doing this, and they essentially said, first of all, we'd have to model every single Pokemon. By the way, there'll be 1,000 roughly.
yeah.
That's a lot of data.
That
you know what I
is a
mean?
lot
Not
of
to mention
data.
that, but then you'd have to put all the moves. You'd have to put all the
level up.
balancing,
Well, and
all this
balancing,
stuff like
yeah.
that.
the
It's
biggest
it's
issue, like
impossible.
the biggest backlash that happened was a lot of people were just like, well, they're basically just taking the assets from Pokemon Go and then Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee and reusing that stuff, and it's this, but there's actually been Tim shared the article with me where the developers basically came out and said, well, we originally tried to just import models and stuff like that because people are still claiming they're using 3DS models and shit like
No,
that.
they are not.
So, they basically said, well, we tried to import, all the models, and they just did not animate right the way we wanted them to. So they were rebuilding all of these, the Pokemon and stuff from the ground up, but people are basically calling them liars and saying they're just lazy developers and all this shit. And at the same time, it's like, at some point, people knew this was going to happen. There are just far too many Pokemon, and the vast majority of them are useless. I mean, how many, like, normal-type Pokemon are you ever going to use?
Honestly, I've only ever in my life used maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah, and it's just, there's this huge backlash of, like, people that are talking shit about the game, being like...
Spinarak.
He wasn't normal.
I know, but
No,
I
but he
hate
was
him.
everywhere.
I actually used Spinarak a lot. I loved Ariados.
Go to hell.
I think you're thinking Joltik. You turn into Galvantula.
The card.
Because
Oh,
I
yes.
actually used Ariados a lot because he learned psychic moves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Never mind then. I was thinking of Joltik.
But
You
yeah, there
piece
was
of shit.
there was really bad backlash, and it's basically all unfounded.
It's just people
That's
complaining
sad.
because, like I said, their favorite Pokemon might not be in it. But I mean, that's always been the fun of Pokemon. That's why, in my opinion, I hate when they reuse Pokemon.
My favorite Pokemon is Squirtle, and guess
Yeah.
what? Where has he been the last, like, frickin' 15 games?
Yeah.
Not there.
That's why-
Am I complaining? No.
Anytime I play a new Pokemon game,
I tried to use new Pokemon.
exactly, I never use Pokemon from previous generations, even if I liked them a lot. Like if for some reason Gardevoir was in this new one, I still wouldn't use her because I like to use the new stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like it almost irritates me when I see Pikachu literally in every single generation. Which I suppose really you can't escape because
No.
it's the face of Pokemon.
He's the face of
Yeah.
Pokemon.
Pikachu.
He has to be in there for the new generation that are playing this game. now.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the recognizability factor. But it's like, I hate when they kind of do that. But
No, I
at the
get
same
it.
time, I understand you can't create a whole nother 150 from scratch every
Yeah.
single game. That'd be a little ridiculous. So it's like, you're right. I think a lot of people bitching it's unfounded.
And then I guess another thing people have been bitching about is, do you remember? I guess they're not doing the Mega Pokemon anymore.
It's not Mega Evolution, it's Dynamaxing.
Well, but like there is no more Mega at all. Period. I don't
No.
think they're using it in Mega.
Honestly,
again.
that was a stupid mechanic
I
that
think
never should have been introduced.
Dynamaxing is basically the same thing and shouldn't be in there to me. But
I think Dynamaxing, though, is only in specific battles.
Yeah.
It's not
is.
something you can just freely do at will like you could Mega Evolution.
Oh.
so Dynamaxing is this thing where apparently in the new region, there are like energy fields that Pokemon can tap into that grow giant.
They get enormous and change form.
Some of them do,
Oh.
not all of them.
I thought all of them did.
Nope.
But then they'll change back.
Yeah, after the fight, they go back to being a normal Pokemon.
It's pretty cool, actually. It looks kind of interesting.
Okay.
I don't know, but like, it seems like it'll only be in like gym battles and then like the raids, because there's going to be multiplayer raids where you can team up with other players to fight a
big
Dynamax
version of something.
Pokemon with a chance to catch it. And,
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah. Which is cool because it's Pokemon that aren't actually in the game. Like you
Oh.
can't just wander around and find something. Like you
Yeah.
have to only get it in this raid.
Yeah.
Which I think is actually kind of cool.
That
It's an
is cool.
interesting idea, and it's another way to bring players to play
Together, yeah.
So I thought it was a really cool idea. I don't know how it'll play out because, like I said, I actually did not like Mega Evolution at all. I thought it was stupid.
I didn't use them.
I didn't either.
It reminded me too much of Digimon. I was
Well-
just like, this is what Digimon do. They Digivolve, and then all of a sudden they're back to their base form at the end of battle. And I'm like, nah.
Well, it was one of those things. Like, do you remember when we were playing the Pokemon cards? When we had the level X's and the EX cards?
Yeah.
The only way to actually fight one of those was with another one. That's
Yeah.
how Mega Evolution felt. You could only fight a Mega Evolution Pokemon with a Mega Evolution Pokemon.
Yeah.
Or just try to wait it out because I think it only lasted 3 turns or
Something
whatever.
stupid like that.
But
yeah.
it was like-
and then there were Z moves, which were dumb.
Yeah, it was just one-hit kills. Which,
Huh?
I'm sorry, Pokemon late game, that's all it is one-hit KOs. Like, that's literally all the game ever came down to.
Unless you're playing PvP and someone uses
Yeah.
stall type stuff, yeah, it's
Or any form of strategy, like, was out the window unless you're playing other
Well,
people.
see, and that's, I mean, so these were one-hit kills, but it's like 100% accuracy?
Well, yeah, the level Z, or the Z moves were.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
You couldn't miss.
See, because there was like Fissure and
I mean,
Drill Horn, but those were one-hit KOs, but literally you had only like a 25% chance of hitting.
Yeah. No, these I don't think were technically one-hit KOs, but it
but
did
the
so
system was
much
so
damage.
Oh, gotcha.
It's Pokemon. They're
It
like,
was so
Yes.
it was so broken.
yeah.
That I don't think there was any time I never took out a Pokemon with it.
I never used them. I just didn't see a point.
No. But that Dynamaxing is just, it's I feel like it's a better way of doing it, where it's only at certain times in certain situations that it can happen. And like I said, Pokemon can change forms. Like there's a Pokemon called Alcremie, I think. It's like a fucking whipped cream looking Pokemon.
Oh.
It's adorable as hell.
Oh, he's creamy.
Yeah, but when she
Yeah.
Dynamaxes, she turns into a whole cake. And then she's on top. It's really funny looking. And like that dreadnought or whatever, the fucking weird big snapping turtle thing.
Oh, yeah.
He ends up turning into like essentially like this region's version of Blastoise. He's back on his hind legs and he's got this fucking badass armor and shit. It looks cool as hell. Huh. So it's like a lot of Pokemon will change form and it looks neat.
Okay.
It looks neat. I'm really excited for the game.
So that's the hubbub with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if people were all complaining about the specific gym battles either. I don't think anyone really said anything about that, but this one will actually have game-specific gym leaders.
Well, yeah, that's the interesting one. Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
There's only going to be certain gym leaders of certain types that are available in each game.
So like Sword will have a gym leader that's a fighting type, and
that's going to be Pope's new favorite gym leader.
Oh no, I'm Flannery all the way, baby. And then like in Shield, it'll be like a ghost gym leader, which I think is kind of interesting. It's an interesting idea to differentiate the games.
Yeah.
But
to actually make them different versus you're following the same path, just different Pokemon you encounter.
Yeah. So it's cool. I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay.
But that's all I got. Switch Lite, Pokemon, as always.
I was actually thinking that. I'm like, is there ever a time where we don't talk about Pokemon? No, there is not.
It's not. Pokemon is life, motherfucker.
Oh, God.
I remember seeing, I think on Facebook, of a guy getting a tattoo of all 151 Pokemon on his back, of the original 151.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
That's funny. Speaking of sad, this episode comes to a close, man.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm sorry, buddy. But, tell us what some of your favorite publishers and developers are, or some that you feel are overrated. Do you like Probe?
Let us.
Speaking of Area 51. Sorry. Oh, fucking
Are you going to be raiding Area 51?
They can't kill all of us!
With the 3 million people, because they can't stop you all, right? Oh, God.
We won't get into that.
No, we won't. But let us know what you think. So were you in the same boat as everybody else who thought that LJN was the worst developer of all time, even though they've never developed a single game throughout their entire history? So let us know what you think about the overrated, the underrated, who should take more blame than others, or who shouldn't take blame. Let us know what you think.
Who do you think is overrated? Like he just said. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe, I mean, to be honest, this is just our opinions. Kevin.
Some are more right than others. You can't argue that.
But anyway, who do you feel is definitely way over touted compared to some games of a different genre that might be better, or some games of the same style that might be better that you feel deserve the credit more than others? If you're so inclined, check us out on YouTube, where we're plowing our way through the Nintendo library.
Yes, please. And you can also check out our side quest episodes where we play things that aren't necessarily Nintendo. Play Super Nintendo games, Sega Genesis games, PlayStation 2 games, and galore.
Galore.
And so much more.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
So hit us up on Facebook.
Hit us up on Twitter.
Go to powertripgaming.tv. Takes you directly to the YouTube channel. Check us out. Hopefully.
And if you would like to be so kind, check us out on iTunes and on Stitcher, where we've got many, many other episodes of our podcast that are ready for listening.
Ready and willing.
Why do you take everything? Like,
he has to have the last word.
You literally make it so awkward.
Ready and willing, like your tender beehole for E.T.'s finger when we storm the area.
Naruto run right now.
I love seeing the memes for the Area 51 shit, man. They're so fucking funny.
I just love the fact that the article I read about that, when they're like, yeah, this is a real thing, like,
it started off as a joke.
It was a joke.
Yes.
The guy said, as long as we Naruto run, their bullets can't stop us. And I'm like, when did somebody think this was not a joke, that this is actually a real thing, like, we're gonna go there?
I remember seeing
They literally said, Naruto run, and you'll run faster than the bullets.
I remember seeing a picture of, like, the drawn-out plans, and they have, like, the left flank is just a group of all Karens, the right group is the Naruto runners, and it's just so fucking funny. I remember seeing, like, once we breach Area 55 or 51, we're gonna find all of the single socks that the dryer ate.
Honestly, I kind of hope that they do it because I wouldn't mind thinning out their ranks a little bit.
God, it's so funny. Just like storming the Bermuda Triangle. They can't swallow all of us.
Can't swallow all of us. Not all at the same time. There's way too many people.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
So
That's all we got.
That'll be very funny.
Fucking thank you guys for listening to the Power Trip Gaming Powercast.
Yes, because now you're listening with power.
With power.